Agree with that, yeah.
Just to, in case anyone is tuning in for the first time, I just want to let you know that what you're seeing on our screen, that is the live scene there now in Southport. We're waiting for Merseyside Police to give a live statement there, updating us about the horrific, horrendous situation that we saw unfold. It makes, even just the mere thought of it, it's bringing me out in chills. It's absolutely horrific. Just to remind you about what we already know so far, the police were called to a major incident in Southport, which is just kind of north of Liverpool, in case you're not familiar with that, just before midday today. Multiple patients have been treated, and what we do know, and this is the thing, I mean, it just sickens me beyond words, everybody, what we do know is that the event that these people were partaking in was apparently a Taylor Swift-themed yoga class for children in school years 2 to 6. So just to give you context there, that would be children aged between 6 and 11 years old. I mean, we know that they've arrested a 17-year-old on this issue. Many people getting in touch saying, oh, here we go. This person is 17, and as a result, they're saying that they feel that no information will be made available because this person is essentially legally a child and not an adult. Is that reasonable to assume?
Yes, it is. Yes. I mean, I think what the police will tell us about is how the incident unfolded, but they probably won't tell us anything about the perpetrator.
Well, I'm telling you, we're keeping this shot open on the screen so that you know the second this progresses, we will be returning to it. I'm just broadening that conversation out now because knife crime does seem to be, it seems to be affecting so many different corners and places within the UK. Looking at what on earth do you actually do to tackle it? We're talking about things like decriminalising drugs. Would that remove some of this kind of gang culture and people wandering around the streets with knives, just to be clear? I'm not suggesting that that is what's happened in this instance. We don't know. We're waiting for that information, so I'm not speculating about that. Tom on the website says, Michelle, you're clearly very upset about this incident. I am heartbroken about this incident, as any parent or same-minded person would be. If you cannot send your child to a Taylor Swift-themed class for them to enjoy, 6 years old, 11 years old, then what on earth is our society coming to? I'm broken-hearted about it, Tom. I'm absolutely furious about it as well. It makes me fearful as a parent, and it just makes me step back and ask the question, the broader question about what on earth is this society becoming? We're talking and we're expanding the conversation, as it's quite right to do, in the absence of facts at this moment in time. We're expanding that conversation about the war on drugs and so on and so forth, and I'm sorry, but I am going to also raise another aspect, and to be clear, I'm not suggesting that this was the motive here, but what about all of this immigration, illegal immigration into this country? We are seemingly importing a lot of people that don't have the same values as many of us. We often import people that don't value women, for example, in the same way that many other people do. And that is often a factor that's never really, truly discussed. What do you think to that, Nigel? And just to be clear, I am not speculating that that is anything to do with this situation. I'm just having a broader conversation. Nigel, your thoughts?
Yeah, sorry, Michelle, I think that's rubbish.
What's rubbish?
The idea that migration is part of this problem. This problem is a homegrown one and has to be dealt with homegrown. Yeah, some of the one or two people who are coming across will be criminals, but there isn't any evidence that there is mass criminality by people who are entering the country on a dinghy.
Do you reckon we collect enough information to even know that?
Well, it's a question of the processing of them, which, of course, the government then got to a situation under the Illegal Migration Act where they couldn't leave the country and they couldn't stay, so they were stuck in a limbo. So I don't know, as they couldn't be processed at that point, I don't know how much information was being gathered, but certainly to process them through the asylum system you should be able to get the information that you need like that.
I'm really astonished that you would say that my concern about that is rubbish. Because I don't feel like it's rubbish. I feel like it's a genuine, legitimate concern.
You have no evidence.
And I feel that one of the things,
Michelle, do you?
Look at the state of what's happening in Ireland now at the moment. You've got protests all over the places. You've got people setting fire, which I don't condone. in case anyone's suggesting that I do or don't condone it. People are setting fire to facilities that have been earmarked for migrants. Why are they doing that? Because when you look at some of the crimes, horrendous crimes that's been committed in Ireland, when you actually look at the origins of the people that have done it, unfortunately, they are people that you can tie back to entering the country as migrants. When I hear about children getting stabbed, I feel about, and I am angry about this, I feel back and I think back to that horrendous knife attack in Annecy, where we saw babies strapped in pushchairs, knifed. Who did that? Who?
I don't know.
Well, I do. It was someone that can be traced back as entering into that country originally as a migrant. I'm furious about it. I'm furious about the fact that I feel that there's no conversation permitted about this subject. It immediately gets shut down. Alan, what do you think?
Well, I think we need to have a big conversation about integration and about values. And I have always been of the view that, in general, migration makes things better, not worse. However, what we need is integration where people recognise that there are values that we subscribe to here. And that means we promote those values to begin with, and we've abdicated them. Our leaders, our universities, our schools, many of the public sector, they've replaced them with things like ESG and EDI. And the very notion of integrating becomes presented as being bigoted. And so what we've begun to see is real pockets of areas which are not being integrated. And we have to say it, things like Rotherham and Rochdale and other areas where we've seen horrendous crimes of not just grooming, of rapes and attacks on young girls, white working class girls generally, by grooming gangs, and that we're doing that, and that those who've got knives and other things. So we do have a situation where there's an issue with values. I think it's really tricky to start extrapolating from one incident some of those other things, because they're issues that we have to have a discussion about. And the question about how many people should come to the country should be a question about our borders and about our Home Office, and not having civil servants that are competing against elected officials that have been told to do that by the majority of the public, which we've got an issue with. And we need to have an honest debate where you don't just censor people or shut them down for saying what some people say is the unsayable. We need to address these things. We need to ask questions why it was the case that in Rochdale last week, stones were thrown at police stations, and at the same time claims were being made which did not get the same attention as other claims that were said were being made. And I'm just concerned that there is a two-tier approach to things. But again, I think we need to hear exactly what's gone on in this incident. But this broader conversation is really important.
Well, we'll come